Hey guys, how's it going? I am the Duke of Italy, your favorite lo-fi concert YouTuber, back with another live show review. And this one was last Wednesday. It was me and Bridget. We went down to a little show from a little group called 100 Gecs. This was last Wednesday in Atlanta, and the opening band was Machine Girl. And I'll tell you guys just a little bit about our experiences and how I thought of the show. And this is the second time I've seen 100 Gecs, so my perspective has changed a little bit. The opening acts were totally different. I've never seen Machine Girl, but Machine Girl was pretty big in Savannah, and that's fairly close to me. And you know, all my friends like both these acts, at least to an extent. So I decided to go to this show and see how it was. And first things first, I did mention this, but this is my second time seeing 100 Gecs. So you're probably like, Duke, you're seeing a band a second time. What's up with that? Well, 100 Gecs puts on a hell of a show. They have a very, very, very fun show. You can say anything about 100 Gecs, but you cannot say that it's boring. It is never boring, even once. The energy for the show was through the roof constantly. Now, I'm going to say Machine Girl, I'm not that familiar with their material. I've heard two of the dude's albums, and I like them both. I've heard Wolf Girl and the one digi hardcore one that looks like Wolf Girl. I was just making stuff for a Halloween party playlist, and there is some playlist fodder in both those albums. Both very solid albums, very interesting stuff. I love the footwork, little bits of gabber, I think. But digital hardcore is a sick genre that I think more people need to get into, honestly. Like Atari Teenage Riot is genuinely awesome. Really fun, danceable stuff, kind of synth punk mixed with art punk, but synth punk in a way that like works as like a more danceable variety. So that's what's really fun with that. So going into this, I knew Machine Girl's audience was going to be wild. I did not know this was going to carry on into 100 Gecs. I'm going to say I have one complaint about the venue, which we saw this at the Tabernacle, and they charged me, I want to say either $12 or $14 for a shot of Tito's. Tito's vodka. What? Really? Like that's like she was like, I poured you a little extra, and I was like, thanks, but you're doing so much movement, that stuff is not gonna stick with you. Like it's gonna leave your body so fast. I pre-gamed a little bit as well, but I was completely coherent not even halfway through Machine Girl. Like I was so fine, and I stocked it beforehand, had the stuff there. So for the venue, I don't like that much. Other than that, the venue was awesome. Very spacious, a lot of floor room. The second level was awesome. And so the audience, I always have a complaint about the audience. That's always a thing that happens. If this might be for the Atlanta crowd only, it could differ in any other state. If you don't want a show that is just constant violence and moshing, don't go to Machine Girl and 100 Gecs. It is a brutal show. Like, it is the most unavoidable moshing I've ever been. Like, normally you can go to the back, but like here, if you wanted to see the show on the bottom floor, you're getting wailed into. Second level, you're still having fun, but you're not in that action. So if you want to do the show where you watch them, don't go on the bottom floor. You're not going to have that. Especially when Machine Girl was happening. They were doing walls of death, circle pits, separate pits that like combined into other pits. Tip for all you ladies out there: just because you're a woman doesn't mean that you elbowing someone isn't gonna hurt at all. It does hurt. Believe me, I throw elbows as a defensive maneuver when I know things aren't going too well for me. So do it when you feel extra scared instead of just into my back. Because I mean, I'm not a tall guy. I'm not a big guy. So there's not really much of a purpose of doing it to me. It's kind of just like, I'll move if you tap me. Everyone's discombobulated though. Everyone's a little disoriented. So I'm not going to throw too much blame on anyone there. Because there were plenty of people who etiquette was mixed around a lot. Etiquette certainly was not understood by a few people. This is not a metal crowd, but they certainly acted like one. Machine Girl, as much as I'm not familiar with their work, fantastic performance. Just the drummer and the dude on bass and vocals, sometimes not bass, but always screaming like a banshee up there. Like, he sounded incredible. His vocals, like those screams were unearthly. Like, that was like, you should have a black metal project if your vocals are that good. Like, I was shocked, because the album, it kind of gets hidden a little bit through all these filters, pitch shifting, vocoding, all this stuff. But live, like, that was truly like an amazing sound, and I was all for it. People like there was a bit of a shorter set, probably about a half hour total, and 2/3 through the set, he gets off stage, climbs into the audience with the mic on a cable, and he gets into the middle of the crowd, and he starts screaming in the middle of the crowd, and people are just jumping into each other. People are jumping into him a little bit, and as someone who's done that with a much smaller crowd, I got to commend him immensely. He kept the energy going. It was so loud in there. It was so energetic. It was so angry. It was really an insane experience just being in there. You think you're ready? You might not be. Genuinely hardcore stuff. Really, really sick. And then the show ends after he goes on the second level, and he starts walking around up there with the mic still attached to the cable. Still sounding great. Still in top performance as far as I could tell. Granted, I'm a little biased. I was in the pit getting wailed on. I can't tell every note that he's singing or screaming. And then everything tapers down. It's 100 Gecs' turn. So I went off and bought a $6 water. It was the Liquid Death water. Now, here's what I gotta say about that. So I don't buy into memes of like water or whatever. I used to think Fiji was great water, and it is great water. Not sponsored. Would I buy Fiji water? Only like maybe like once a year or twice a year. Like, it has to be like someday where I really want to seem cool. But I can't think of a situation that would call for that. So it'd be pretty rare that I do that. That being said, I'm spending $6 on a can of water. Sorry for a little awkward cut there. I'm a little under the weather, but $6 water. It's the Liquid Death brand, which is seemingly everywhere nowadays. It is good water, to be honest with you. I thought it was going to be metallic because it's in a can, but I'm like, no, this is like very good water. Like, it's very clean. Tastes like water. It tastes clean, clear, peaceful, I guess. I don't know. I don't really get the death murder images of the Liquid Death brand. I mean, I appreciate the marketing team. I think it's a fun marketing thing, but it's like, it is $6 water, and I don't need to do that. And like, that's the thing I'm paying for here, is like, I could do tap water from like a styrofoam cup, and I'd be fine with that. And that's the thing. I apologize to the venue owners. No one was throwing away their cans. There was no way to. Like, you get in the pit, you're not getting out. Like, you're staying in, or you're gonna lose your spot. So, I'm guilty. I'll be honest, but I think it kind of covers for it, because I paid at least $12 for a shot of whiskey. So I did that in the middle of the set. Bridget was having time of their life, which was awesome. I'm really happy that was going on with them. And then 100 Gecs came on. Instant energy through the roof with Dumbest Girl Alive. That awesome like THX opening sound effect off the new album is great. I'm going to say, I don't think 10,000 Gecs is as good as 1,000 Gecs, but they did show why they're meant to be taken seriously live. And there are a couple songs off that album that make me think like, what's going on here? Like, I did not think Frog on the Floor would be performed. It was performed. Not only was Frog on the Floor performed, every song off the album was performed live at some point off of 10,000 Gecs. So they did all of 10,000 Gecs. They did most of 1,000 Gecs. They did Bloodstains off of 100 Gecs, which is huge. They don't do the EP material much. I like 25 Bands and a Gecko. That's a great song. I'd love to hear that live. I love the barking dog sound effects. I think it's super fun. But Bloodstains is also a good song. And they also did Torture Me off of the Snake Eyes EP. Part of me wishes it was called like 7 Gecs or like some random number Gecs. I like the Gec like trend that they're doing. I like that they keep doing that. I think it's kind of funny. But Snake Eyes is a really awesome EP, especially for being like 6 minutes long. Very, very consistent stuff. And they did Torture Me. I like the other songs in there too. When I saw them before in Atlanta, they did Hey Big Man, which was awesome. That song live is so sick. They only did Torture Me live here, which is interesting because I thought last year they were going into a more rap-oriented direction with Beastie Boys and stuff like that, because they did Hey Big Man last year, as well as one other rap song, which I believe was Billy Knows Jamie, now that I think about it, which they also did at this show. Going into Billy Knows Jamie, I was low-key scared because the crowd had a ton of energy and they were being rough. And Billy Knows Jamie is probably the most aggressive song that 100 Gecs has currently. And thank God it was like the same level of energy, because it could have been so much worse. And I was worried about that, but thank God that didn't happen. They did Ringtone. That was awesome. They never do 745 Sticky. That song is great, but they should bring that. There are a couple songs off of 1000 Gecs that they don't do much. But I did see in some other set lists that they had an hour and like 24-minute long set list, which is literally longer than their uploaded discography. They had, at least without the Tree of Clues album, because the Tree of Clues album, like half those songs aren't necessarily ones they could perform viably because they have a guest feature. I was about to say like not their songs, but it's clearly their song. It just got remixed. They didn't do Gec, which is very interesting because I saw them do it last year and it was really fun. They didn't do Would Never Stop You. I know they did that at a previous show, but they didn't do it at our show, but it looked really great. Every song they did was awesome. You could kind of see, at least, so in my opinion, 10,000 Gecs is not as good as 1,000 Gecs. I think 1,000 Gecs is a like pivotal moment in musical history. I genuinely think it's a amazing album. It's probably the hyperpop album, at least for me, and it pushes so many boundaries. It's so oddly accessible in a way. It's really a amazing album to me. And you could tell live that Most Wanted Person in the United States is not as good a song as the 1000 Gecs material. To be honest, I don't think it is. I also don't love I Got My Tooth Removed because it's ska. Ska is a meme, but not a lot of people can get into that sound other than the fact that it's a meme. That being said, all these songs were performed very well. Me, Me, Me was one of the last songs, at least I want to say the last song they did before they went off the stage for an encore. And there are a lot of shows that have an encore that I'm expecting an encore, and I'm happy they're doing an encore, but I don't need it. But here, everyone was like, please come out and give us more music. And they did. And I don't necessarily remember what they did for the encore. They did something off of 1000 Gecs, I'm sure. But they ended the whole show with Gec to You, which was really special because I've never seen that song live, and it's their longest song off of 1000 Gecs. It's sort of like an opus of sorts. It's like a Gecs suite, if you will, Suite. Like it's their prog song, if you want it, because it's 3 minutes, which for them was long at the time. They had all 2.5 minutes, so a whole extra minute felt kind of big. And this was amazing. They had really cool lights going on in the back of the show the whole time, like really cool camera effects. A lot of times they'd hold a microphone with a camera attached, which gave them that really warped picture of their face, and that was on the back of the wall. Both Laura and Dylan had that same thing. And of course they came out with the wizard costumes, but the strobe lights were awesome the whole time. But it wasn't until Gec to You that it was great. People were still moshing, and I was shocked no one got hurt, as far as I could tell, because they were strobing in a way that was like like the exact drum beat of Gec to You when the build was happening towards the end. And people were throwing themselves into each other, just throwing elbows and shoving people, throwing people. And I was like, dude, someone's going to get hurt because it looks like we're in slow motion right now. Like the way it's going so slow. And I'm sure half the people were drunk or some sort of inebriated. And it just was going and going and going. But that was an amazing moment right there. Visually so compelling, audio-wise. Like that's a great song. So I was like, sounds amazing. The crowd is amazing. That genuinely, you hear it here now. Gec to You by 100 Gecs, one of my favorite live experiences ever. They're up there with Primitive Man and Uniform and King Crimson doing Starless and 100 Gecs and honestly Drain Gang doing anything, because Drain Gang's live show is the greatest thing ever, and I really need to see them again. But that was fantastic. I want to mention something about the audience. The only time they ever stopped moshing was during ringtone. Seriously, they were moshing the whole time other than that, including an intermission song 100 Gecs did, which was Laura on guitar, which I couldn't remember if it was a Telecaster or not. I know last year she did a Telecaster, but this year she was on some guitar. I couldn't tell. And he was bowing this really weird avant-garde like instrument. I could not tell you what it was. It looked homemade, but it sounded sick. But I couldn't pay attention at all because I was still getting moshed into. It was a drumless song. It was clearly like some abstract avant-garde song. And I believe in 100 Gecs as an artistic collective. I know they have music that matters. Like, these songs have meaning to them, as fun and silly as they are. And that's why I believed in 1000 Gecs from the beginning, because despite it being music prone to have ADHD riddled fans, it's music that does have a lot of substance, I believe. And being moshed into when that was happening, I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, we're all tired here. Give us a second to breathe. I mean, partially because I ate Hard Rock Cafe before that, and my stomach was like fighting itself in there, which was brutal. One of the most brutal things I heard the whole night was my stomach. And yeah, audience was rough in that. There was also one song where it ended, no song was playing for a pretty extended period of time, probably good 30 seconds, and a girl just kept on shoving me, just elbowing me in the back, and I was like, the hell are you doing? Like, nothing's going on. And then she starts looking around the floor, and I'm like, oh, shoot, she's missing something. I'll help her look. She pulls up a joint that someone stepped on. Keep track of your joints, ladies and gentlemen, if that's what's so important to you. But you're not going to die if you lose it in the pit because you're an idiot. You're not going to. Also, I'm not an idiot. Most people aren't idiots. That's wishful thinking, I know. But you could be like, hey, excuse me, because the music's not playing. I'll hear you. I'll hear you just fine. But she didn't think so. Why? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But that's just how that went. And one other complaint about the audience. There was one point where someone lit a receipt on fire in the pit. I don't know. People stomped it out. I know there was like, oh, wild party. We letting the wild ones in. Oh my gosh. And the 100 Gecs, last time I saw them, was wild as well. But I was like, come on, guys. I don't want to ruin this place for the chance of 100 Gecs to return. I want to be wild. I do. But and I know maybe not everyone at the show is an adult, but you can have a reasonable amount of wildness. That is one thing about metal shows I do typically like. There is a code of ethics. If someone falls, you pick them up. You don't break too much stuff if you don't have to. You kind of try to respect the establishment if you can. Sometimes it calls for something more extreme, a la Limp Bizkit. That's different and morally questionable as well. But I don't know. People doing that stuff, I'm like, someone could get actually hurt doing that. And people were not always picked up when moshed into. I did see several times where people got trampled over. I mean, I'm not the mosh police. I'm not going to punch you or anything like that, but be aware. There were several, people there do lack in eye-hand coordination, though. We're 100 Gecs fans. A lot of people were falling over for no reason. And we all try to stay up, but if you're there were people who just lean on you for half the show if they have to. And I get it. It's hard to stand at some spots. I had that trouble too, but I don't get why it happens so often. There were some people where I'm just okay, buddy. There were points where I just pat the person on the back. I'm like, you're good. You're good. Just stand up. You're good, bro. Also, one point, huge circle pit was going to start, and this one guy was holding me back because he thinks I'm going to go in too early. I'm not gonna. I need a bit of motivation to start moshing. But his elbow was in my neck, and I'm like, bro, your elbow's in my neck. You can lower it a little bit to my chest, and I'll still be back here. And he complied, thankfully. That's one of my favorite memories of the show, funnily enough. So ATL crowd strikes again for being wild, and that's better than the alternative, and that's really how I can summarize that. That's about it, though. Yeah, I'd see 100 Gecs again. I don't know what they're going to do next, but I'm sure it'll be fun. And that is about it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. comments, questions, or concerns. Who are you seeing? Have you seen 100 Gecs live? Would you see them again? What's your favorite part of the show? Why? Let me know. Other than 800 Decibel Cloud, which was great. Hand Crushed by Mallet, great. I love 1000 Gecs. Comments, questions, likes, subscribe, please. Social media in the description. If you want to keep up with what I'm up with, that's what I'm doing. I'm tweeting, posting on Instagram sometimes. I'm hanging out. And that's about it. Hope you guys are doing well out there. Have a good day. Bye.